Well, good morning and welcome to Supermarket News, the channel that spills the beans but doesn't always mop up afterwards. And today we're going to be talking about Lidl or Lidl. I don't even know how to say the word. As far as I'm concerned, I'll call them Lidl. If it's wrong, I couldn't give a monkey's. They're probably the worst supermarket in the UK, and I see them as an absolute disgrace to this country. Although I've kind of started off a little bit jokey, what I'm about to say is probably pretty serious, you know. And I think Lidl are well known for being their prices are pretty good, but I'm afraid pricing isn't everything. And for a place to be attractive and welcoming and a place you would want to go back to, it needs more than just cheap goods. I've always found Lidl to be unsatisfactory in so many ways. I've seen their toilets that are absolutely bogging on too many occasions. I've seen their baskets. And I use the word basket loosely, as I think we'll find out very shortly. I've seen their baskets just to be filthy and needing cleaned. And you look at them and you think, I'm not putting my shopping in there. They also suffer from a lack of staff. Maybe that's how they keep prices down. They just don't hire enough staff. And that makes the shopping experience very difficult. I was in Lidl the other day in Partick. I always use a shopping trolley as opposed to one of their baskets. Their baskets aren't fit for purpose, which I'll explain in a minute. So your shopping trolley, even their shopping trolleys aren't satisfactory. In some supermarkets, the shopping trolleys are quite shallow, so that, you know, when you put your goods in and out of them, you're not having to kind of stoop right down, way down there and think to yourself, I'm going to fall in this shopping trolley here. So even their small trolleys are very deep and not very easy to use if you're an old person. And that's where I'm going with this short video. I'm an old person. I'll be probably 69 by the time you watch this. And okay, I might tramp in the hills and get myself out and about there, but I am nevertheless an old person. I mean, there's old folk and there's old folk. Some old folk are probably showing their age more than others. You know, you've got bands like the Rolling Stones and superstars like Paul McCartney who are still on tour, and I think these guys are in their late 70s, if not their 80s. So, you know, being old's not always, it doesn't always mean you're not fit for purpose. But I was in, as I said the other day, did my shopping and went to the checkout. And it was the usual story where there wasn't a man at checkout. It was all self-service, with one lassie looking after all the self-service machines. And I looked at it and I thought, oh, here we go. So I kind of made a bit of an attempt. I kind of got my shopping trolley, manoeuvred around everybody that was in the area. But there was somebody else with a shopping trolley at the self-service checkouts as well. And it starts to get a bit busy then. These self-service checkouts, the ones in this particular store, aren't made for shopping trolleys. They're made for baskets. So that if you've got more than one shopping trolley, there's just not enough room to kind of sort yourself out, and it's simply impractical to properly check out your goods. So I said to the lassie, is there a self-service checkout? Sorry, is there a man checkout opening? She said, yes, okay. So I went and stood the man checkout, and I thought maybe she was going to phone, you know, can we have a self-service checkout person at checkout number 1 or whatever. But she just sort of stood there for a while and left me standing there for a bit too long, when eventually she came over to man that man checkout. And this kind of harks back to Lidl's lack of staff. She was the only person at this end of the supermarket. She was doing everything. And I started putting my shopping on the conveyor belt, and I said to her, by way of an explanation as to why I had wanted to have a man checkout, I said that it gets a bit busy and when you've got more than one shopping trolley at the self-service checkouts. And her response was something along the lines of, you could have got all that in a basket. That was one of these moments you think, what? She was being a bit jokey, but she was also bordering on being very cheeky. And I said, no, well, as old folk, we like the shopping trolleys, you know. If you've ever been to Lidl, you'll know how ridiculous the shopping baskets actually are. They're not metal sort of caged baskets that you might see in other supermarkets. They're actually big kind of plastic things with wheels and a handle. You kind of wheel it about the place with your handle. And the reason I'm saying that they're ridiculous is that in order to get your shopping in and out of the basket, you've got to bend right down to ground level. Put your shopping in, then at checkout, bend right down, pull it out again. Whoever designed these shopping baskets was an idiot who'd never actually been in a supermarket before. I mean, how do people get away with inventing crap like that? I saw one guy that particular day with his wheeled shopping basket, and he'd obviously got around that problem by just chucking everything into just throwing it in. Obviously you couldn't chuck eggs in and fruit and stuff like that. It's an absolute nonsense. So anyway, she scanned everything. I went to pay for it. It was a card. All the while she's just wandering backwards and forwards between me and the self-service checkouts, because that was her job, to check them, make sure nobody was stealing or doing it, everybody was all right. And all the while she's not actually looking at me. Her attention is elsewhere. She's got too many tasks to do. And I went to scan the machine to pay for the goods. But I did scan it. And then I think I made the mistake of pressing the screen, which must have sort of cancelled the whole thing or something. Because on the screen you had that green and red button saying, do you want to give to charity? It actually meant to press the green and red button on the handset, not on the screen itself. That in itself is a nonsense. We're seeing that seems to be kind of all over the place. Whenever you pay for goods with a card, you're given the option to donate to charity. I think it's a nonsense. It's just making life a little bit more difficult for people trying to get on with their lives. I was in Poundland just before I was in Lidl, and it was just a procession of old women who were paying for their shopping, and there was another old woman actually manning the checkout. And with every person she was having to say, press the red button if you don't want to give to charity. No, press the red button if you don't want to give to charity. And she was getting quite exasperated because everybody was having difficulty for some reason. You would think, well, how difficult can it be to either press a red button or a green button? You know, people have got the word charity in their head and they think, well, maybe I should do it. I think it's a mistake to have that at any checkout or when you're paying for goods, to have that. For most people it's probably not a problem, but I think for old folk, that's what this video is about, old folk in supermarkets. It's a little bit of an issue. It just makes the whole experience a wee bit more complicated than it usually is. So anyway, in touching the screen, I must have cancelled this payment, and she'd walked away, and I said, excuse me, but can I have a receipt? She said, scan your card, put your card in. And I'm thinking, what? I hadn't realised I'd cancelled it in some way. So I put it in again. At this point, another shopper appeared at the manned checkout, which actually wasn't manned. She was going backwards and forwards. And she came over and she said something, I can't remember what she said, whether it was you paid by cash or card or something. She wasn't looking at this other customer, and she wasn't looking at me. She was gazing at some distant spot in the supermarket. I don't know whether she was checking on who was coming in. Maybe she was doing the job of security, self-service checkouts and manned checkouts. Lack of staff. And I'm thinking, this is just getting... The whole situation was becoming more absurd and more annoying, and I found her attitude and her demeanour more and more cheeky and just not acceptable. I'm kind of trying to kind of keep a grip on things here because I could feel my blood starting to boil. And he said it was just to... he wanted to use the manned checkout, and she said that if you just used the self-service checkout, you know. And he was an old guy like me. He said, I'm not keen to work them, or didn't know how to work them. He just wasn't happy using the self-service machines. Customers shouldn't have to explain why they don't want to use a self-service machine. That's pretty disgraceful, really, you know. So in the end, you know, I managed to put the card through, and she said, "Do you want a receipt?" I'd already said to her that I would like a receipt. She was just further enforcing this notion that she was being very cheeky and very disrespectful to me and perhaps to old folk in general. I was kind of raging, you know. I did think when I got home, I'll make a complaint to Lidl. But it's a waste of time, because all that's happening is you're communicating with somebody in a call centre who's following a script. That script is something along the lines of acknowledge the person's complaint by re-mentioning what they said. Then insert empathy. That's right, put the empathy in there. Oh, I'm awful sorry about the problem you've had. It's a flaming nonsense. Complaining, it doesn't do anything whatsoever. So I thought, I'm going to put this video up here. I've got close to 10,000 subscribers. Maybe that'll make a bit of a difference, because it's time Lidl pulled their finger out and started treating old people with respect, because there's an awful lot of us around, and if we decide to turn our back on you as a supermarket, then maybe that'll cause you some difficulties. I'm Eddie Burns. Take care.